Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. As most of you are probably aware, this weekend is a Super Bowl weekend. So we are going to have some fun today talking about the super plants that we have to offer here at Creekside Nursery, both at the Garden Center and online. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at those three supers from Proven Winners: Supertunias, Superbells, and Superbenas, because we adore these plants. We use them in a wide range of applications here at the nursery, in our gardens, in our displays. So I'm going to walk through the gardens today and kind of give you my plans with these supers to give you some ideas on how you might want to use them in your garden as well, because while they are super plants, they do have some different applications and they thrive in some different situations. So hopefully this will take any kind of guesswork out of which super would be the best in your landscape or in your garden. So I will also say, y'all, personal side note here. It snowed again this morning. That is the third time in 2 weeks that it has snowed. So all of you people in those colder zones who typically have snow in the winter, I need you to come down here, grab your weather, and take it back with you. That is right. Oh my gosh. This Southern girl is not used to all of this white stuff that sticks around for a long time. So we are going to channel our summer season, our spring season, and all the color, and hopefully give you some inspiration and warm us up from the inside out, shall we say. All right, so first of all, we are going to talk about Superbells, because Superbells, probably for me, being full disclosure, complete honest here, this is the super that I use the least in my garden. And you may say, well, why is that, Jenny? Well, I will be happy to tell you, because Superbells do not like to have wet feet. They like to be in really well-drained soil, dare I say, a little bit on the dry side for their roots. And as most of you know, I do have very thick, compact clay soil here where I am in North Carolina, in the Piedmont region. And so I cannot use Superbells in the landscape. I have to use them in containers, hanging baskets, hay racks, those kinds of things. And so I am going to be doing my hay racks that are currently taking a hit right now because of all the cold and the snow and the ice that we have had. And this spring, we are going to fill up these 8 hay racks that are right here into the entrance of the Signature Garden. Folks, this is where they will park, and we are going to fill them up with beautiful early spring color, because Superbells do really well in cool weather. So my Superbells, again, do not do the best in the landscape. However, there is always a however in gardening. My folks, even though I'm in North Carolina, I've got neighbors just a couple hours to the east of me in the Sandhills and in the coastal region of North Carolina, that their soil is completely different than mine. It is much sandier and it is really well draining. Those folks could probably do Superbells in the landscape. So you're going to have to be a student of your own garden and say, do I have more like clay soil, or really rich organic soil that holds moisture really well? Or do I have soil that is really well draining and tends on the dry side? There you go. That's how you know if you can put Superbells into the landscape. So what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you exactly which varieties, cultivars I'm going to be using. So I have my notes, so let me grab my notes so I don't tell you wrong. All right, so like I said, early spring, we are going to do these boxes, these hay racks, window boxes, whatever you want to call them. I call them a hay rack because they're on a fence. The Superbells that we are going to be using this year, I'm going for all the different kind of really bright cherry colors. I'm only going to use 3, and I'm going to use them in a mix and match throughout these boxes. So we're going to do Superbells Blue Moon Punch. That is always so popular here. Just an absolutely really rich color to it. Then we're doing the Superbells Magic Pink Lemonade. Y'all, this is such a fun Superbell because, as its name suggests, Magic Pink Lemonade, it does change colors. So you will have pinks and yellows, various shades of those on this, and it does kind of morph and transition throughout as when you get the new blooms versus the older blooms. So the Superbells Pink Magic Lemonade. And then one of my all-time favorites is the Superbells Tropical Sunrise. So this is going to be in those kind of that more of that pink coral, little hint of orange in there. And so we're going to use those, like I said, in these hay racks, along with some of the Bright Lights Osteos. So these are going to be those African daisies. They look like really sweet little daisies. They're going to be some of the very first ones to bloom. We're going to put some alyssum in here. We're going to put some of the Aromagica mulberry in there. But the Superbells, those are the three that we are going to use here. And really, honestly, that's about my only application for Superbells because, again, I have so much landscape and not a lot of container space. So those three Superbells are going in the hay racks. All right, as a side note, as we walk to the signature garden, because this is where the other supers are going to be going, we currently have a sale that has been going on. So if you buy 6 supers, you get 2 free. So take advantage of that. Of course, these are still for pre-orders. So you can head over to the website, buy 6, get 2 free. So you're going to put 8 in your cart, right? And you can mix and match as long as they are the Superbells, Supertunias, or Superbenas. You can mix and match, put those 8 supers in your cart. You'll use the code and then you'll get 2 of them for free. So do increments of 8. So you can do 8, 16, 24, or whatever. So have fun shopping. All right. Now, Supertunias. Supertunias are going to be proven winners, petunias, right? So these are this is like... shall I say, like the flagship of annuals with proven winners because these are so incredibly popular. Within the Supertunias, you have basically, as my memory is serving me correctly, 3 different types of Supertunias. So you have what we call the regular Supertunias. So these are still going to be fantastic. All your Supertunias are going to be great in the landscape, any kind of landscape, hanging baskets, containers, you name it. Basically, they are extremely versatile and can go in any kind of gardening application. They do need the full sun, so a minimum of 5 to 6 hours, as all the supers do. So you can use them in any kind of garden application that you want. Now, they give you the big, beautiful blooms, of course. So your regulars, this would be like your Bordeaux, your Saffron Finch, your really red, the Royal Velvet, right? So these are the ones you just say Supertunia Bordeaux or Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid, right? So those are the kinds of things. Then you go into the Vistas, the Supertunia Vista series. And there's quite a few in here. So this is where your Bubblegum, your Paradise, your Fuchsia, your Silverberry, those are Jazzberry. The new one is the Cool Jazz. Those are your Vistas. These are going to be the most vigorous. Think vigorous vistas. So if you want to put them in a landscape situation, then you absolutely can do that. These are going to be have a little bit of height to them. It depends on the variety. You just go ahead and look at them. So anywhere in that like 18 inches to 2 feet. So they get some height to them and they spread really well. So this is where we want to, if you have wide open landscapes, we want to use our Vistas. If you have large containers or a large hanging basket and you want to make a massive display, go with the Vistas. Now, let's say you still want that vigor, but you need it a little bit controlled. You need it a little bit reined in. Then that's where we're going to go with the third kind of family, the Supertunia Mini Vistas. So your Mini Vistas are going, again, huge range of colors. So you've got Mini Vista White, you have got this scarlet, you have got yellow, you have got indigo, you have got the violet stripe, you've got the pink stripe. So just tons of these. These are going to be used, again, landscape, containers, hanging baskets, still very nice and vigorous. They tend to have a little bit of a smaller bloom than your Vistas or your regular Supertunias. They still have a good spread on them, but they're not going to get as tall and they're not going to spread as vigorous as your Vistas. I like using my mini Vistas in areas that are a little bit more, the space is a little bit more tight and confined, and I do not want the height. So for example, for years, I love doing the Supertunia Mini Vista White along the edges of the raised patio beds at the back, in our back of our house. I adore this plant. We're going to be using it here in just a second. I'm going to share it with you. So that kind of gives you the idea to understand what the difference is between Supertunia Vistas, Mini Vistas, and then your regular petunias. Now, what we're going to be doing, let me turn the camera around. Let me show you the spaces that we're going to be using with these Supertunias in the signature garden. Here in front of the Sprinter boxwoods, this spring we are going to do a mass planting of the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid. So we will come between basically the rocks and the Sprinter boxwoods, and we are going to fill in this area on both sides, right? Because we always plant this so that it's nice and balanced with that Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid. Hoopla Vivid Orchid is one of the newer Supertunias on the market from Proven Winners. Has a really nice wide white edging to it with that really bright hot pink jazzberry raspberry color to the center of it. It is beautiful and magnificent. So we are going to fill in, as we always do in the early spring, we always put Supertunias in this space. So we're going to switch up those colors, and we're using the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid here. Now, as we move on to the other side of the raised beds, here in front of the Little Lime Punch hydrangeas, we're going to use the Mini Vistas. So you can see, one, we have not pruned our hydrangeas yet, but as our hydrangeas are growing, we're losing space in front of them between the hydrangeas and the wall. Totally fine, not a problem, but we're going to switch up what we're going to be using. So this is where we're going to use those Mini Vistas. And so we're going to put in the Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Veined. This is such a great new addition to the Mini Vistas. So the Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Vein, again, relatively new, and it might be the newest of the plum vein. I mean, the Mini Vistas that have come out. I used it a ton last year at the house. Love this. So it's a really, if you're familiar with Bordeaux, think a Mini Vista version of a Bordeaux. Similar in that kind of that color, a little bit more pinky plum than like a purple, but it has that veining in it. Y'all, it is great. Super tight and compact. That's another reason why I like the, personally, sometimes I like the Mini Vistas or the Vistas over the regular Supertunias, because certain regular Supertunias can get a little leggy, meaning they get a little long on me. I like a nice, tight, compact petunia. That's just my preference. And so that's why I love those Mini Vistas. So we're using the Mini Vista Plum Veined here, along with other things in front of the hydrangeas. Now, as we rotate the fountain, that is right. So around the base of the fountain, we always will do, or historically have always done, I should say, Supertunias in this as well. This year is going to be no change. So basically, the snow is helping me out today because we're going white this season. That is right. So I told you that the Supertunia Mini Vista White is one of my all-time favorite Supertunias. And so we have not done Supertunia Mini Vista White in the garden yet. So this year we are going to. So at the base of the fountain, it's all going to be a Mini Vista White. So just to give you an insight into how my brain works. So we absolutely could, design-wise, if we wanted to do Supertunia Vista Snowdrift, because Snowdrift and Mini Vista White have the exact same color in the fact that they are a pure white flower. The difference is going to be the size. So we have from the edge of the fountain to the wall is probably, if it's even 3 feet, it might be like 2.5 feet. I have not measured it recently, so I don't remember, but it's in that 2.5 to 3 foot range. Also, remember how I told you that your vistas are going to be taller? I don't want if I put snowdrift in here, it would get too tall and cover the fountain. Mini Vista White is going to be perfect. It's going to ride right underneath the lip of the fountain. It will gently come over and kind of soften the edge of the wall around it, but it's not going to come over and get into the grass. So this is that example of I need the spread, I need the color, but I need it more controlled and more compact and not as big and vigorous as a Vista. All right, now I think if you ask anybody that is familiar with Proven Winners and their Supertunias, if they know only one Supertunia, odds are it is going to be Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. In my opinion, this is the OG. It is the original. It is the classic. It is the standard by which petunias try to live up to, because it is an absolutely amazing petunia. Now, Proven Winners, they are always kind of looking at their plants and seeing how can we improve them. So this year they're coming out with Supertunia Vista Bubblegum 2, so like 2.0, right? So I think I will look to see what the difference is, but I think the colors is a little bit more of that vibrant, kind of returning to that rich pink, that bubblegum pink. So if I can find the information, I will put it up there for you. So just know that if you get bubblegum, it's going to be the Bubblegum 2, so that kind of improved version. But we are going to use Vista Bubblegum back in the landscape here at the garden center and in containers. So please pardon the construction. The barn is still had to take a little hiatus right now because of the weather. But what we're going to do is we are going to be growing the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum either in 1 gallons or hanging baskets. And then that way what we're going to do is we're going to come through, and these first shrubs that are on the front, these are kaleidoscope abelias right here. So right here, those guys down here, kaleidoscope abelias. We're going to plant bubblegum between each one of them all the way down. So I have got the quick fire hydrangeas, and so we're going to take, like I said, the bubblegum, and we're going to alternate between each shrub all the way down. It will make a huge color explosion with that beautiful pink flower that will literally like take up the entire space. So we plant them as hanging baskets or as 1 gallons. It just depends on what our space is going to allow us in the greenhouse as far as growing them. But you start with that bigger plant and it instantly makes an impact. Now, by no means am I saying that you have to plant them as a 1 gallon or as a hanging basket, because hanging baskets will have 3 or 4 of those liners in there. No, not at all. You absolutely could plant a grande right there and it will take off and go crazy and be beautiful all season. Got to keep in mind, this is where we're a little different because we are a garden center. We have display gardens. Like when I plant something, I got to kind of almost have like instant wow factor for folks. So that is why we are using those bigger size plants when we initially put them in the ground. And again, so we're going to have, remember, in front of the greenhouse, which is on the other side of the cat that's currently covered in snow, we have that project that will be happening where we are going to be nooking in that whole bed kind of in a rough rectangular shape with that raised wall to nook in that flower bed. And then within that retaining wall, we are going to have columns. So definitely the 4 corners. Maybe we will have one in the center of each wall. I'm not sure yet how the design on that, but we will have urns on top of those. So bubblegum is going in those urns. So as soon as you come down and you see the garden center, first thing you're going to see are those bubblegum in the urns, and they are going to be gorgeous. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah. So Supertunias also are very cool tolerant. So your Superbells and your Supertunias are quite tolerant of cold. They can actually even handle a frost. So a planting tip for my southern people, the people who worry more about the heat of the summer than like the cold of the winter, if that makes any kind of sense, right? The key to great success with especially your Supertunias when you're putting them in the landscape, put them in as early as you possibly can. Meaning, even if you're not to your last frost date yet, you still can put them in the ground because, like I said, they can handle a frost. So we have been planting our Supertunias in the landscape as early as we possibly can. So that means, like for us, we've been doing it like I think like late March. We've been planting them in March. Our last frost date is not till April the 15th, but we have been putting them in, and y'all, it makes a huge difference, especially if you have an area or your garden is not on irrigation, because what happens is if you're thinking about, you know, like a couple of weeks before your last frost date, obviously it's going to be cooler. Maybe you're getting more consistent rain. There's not as much stress on the plants. Supertunias, Superbells can handle the cooler temperatures. They stay nice and tight and compact. What's going to happen is all of their roots are going to be growing in the ground, and they are going to get super well established before the heat of end of May and June hit. So that is just something for you to keep in mind. Also, on a maintenance note for your Supertunias and your Superbells, they are heavy feeders. I mean, they love food. Think of all those flowers that they are producing. They've got to have food to produce those flowers. This is why I have found great success with this. When you are planting, whether it's a container or the landscape, I always put biotone in the hole because strong roots make happy shoots. So I use my biotone. I will also use the Proven Winners continuous release fertilizer. That's the granular. As Mimi calls it, it's the shake and bake. It's the little container when you hold it and it rattles. So we add that into the soil when we are planting the Supertunias, Superbells, Superbenas, right? And so what that is a time-released fertilizer, a slow-release fertilizer. It is released by the temperature. So as the temperature goes up, it releases the food. That's why we don't use it in the wintertime, because it's cold and it's just going to sit there. So I do that. For me, it depends. If it's in the landscape, it can absolutely last that like 3 to 5 months for me. In a container, it doesn't last as long because I'm constantly watering, and that water runs through the pot and it kind of leaches and it runs through the fertilizer faster. So you may find that you need to reapply it halfway through the season. And then, of course, you have got the secret sauce. This is Proven Winners, the liquid fertilizer. This is the one, it is granular. You mix 1 scoop with 1 gallon of water, and then you just water as normal. So people are like, well, how do you fertilize? Just water as normal. You can get the fertilizer on the foliage. It's totally fine. We do it all the time. It does not matter. It's not going to hurt the plant to get fertilizer on the foliage and the flowers. Proven Winners recommends doing this like every so many feedings, and I'm just going to be honest with you, y'all. That is like my weak spot. If I can do it every 2 weeks, I am feeling great. So if you notice that your foliage is not as rich dark green, or you're not getting as many flowers, they probably need food. All of the supers need sun at a minimum 5 to 6 hours, all the way up to full sun. All right, so we have covered Supertunias, we've covered Superbells, now Superbenas. Let's talk about those babies. All right, so Superbenas are Proven Winners verbenas. That's right. So again, come in a ton of colors. You name a color, it almost pretty much comes out they come out in that color. So I told you that we are going to be doing the Supertunia Mini Vista White here at the fountain. Now, I'm all about sharing messes and successes with you, right? So we are in North Carolina, a Zone 8A, and what we struggle with the most, I would say historically, throughout even the entire year, is our heat and humidity in the summer. Because our humidity in the summer, I'm looking at like into June, July, August, even into September, we don't get a break from the humidity. At nighttime, it can be more humid than it is during the day. So the plants don't get a chance to rest and recover. Remember how I told you that Supertunias and Superbells love the cool weather? That means that they don't really like the high heat and humidity of the mid to late summer. So we have found that they start to peter out at into July. Like they just look tired and sad, like the gardeners themselves start to do. So this year what we're going to do, because we are a display garden and we have folks that come here all the time to see the gardens, and we want the gardens to be primo, we are going to go ahead in July, take out our Supertunias that are struggling, which it could be all of them. So we have a backup plan. So where we're going to do Mini Vista White right here in the early spring, early summer, when the heat hits, we're then going to plant Superbena Whiteout. So we will still have the same color palette. Whiteout has these huge umbrals of pure white flowers. It is still going to be low, it still spreads, so it will be the perfect application here around the fountain. So color-wise, design-wise, you're not going to see too massive of a change between, say, when we do the drone in mid-June versus mid-August. It'll still be a beautiful white flower around the fountain. So there you go on that. We are going to do Superbena Cobalt in the front side, the garden side of the raised beds. So remember I told you that we were planting the Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Vein in on this side. We are still doing that, but while we plant that in the spring, we're also going to do the Superbena Cobalt. So what's going to happen is Cobalt is going to be in there with the Mini Vista Plum Vein, but when the Mini Vista starts to struggle and it is not doing well, we will pull out the Mini Vista Plum Vein, but leave in the Superbena Cobalt. So that's the fun thing, is that you can have plants that are really strong and do really well in the early spring. When the summer heat hits and they're starting to struggle, pull those out and let the other plants in there shine. So that way we're not going to have to worry about the Superbena Cobalt taking over the Mini Vista Plum Vein. So of course, Cobalt, as its name suggests, is going to be a beautiful, really rich, you don't want to say blue because it's not really a true blue. It's more of that horticultural blue, like a rich purple, shall we say. So that is going to be in here. Now, we are not going to be using the Superbena Pink Cashmere. I have used it ever since we put this garden in, and y'all, without a doubt, it is absolutely, I would say here at Creekside is our #1 selling Superbena, because I think Pink Cashmere is the newest to the Superbena family. And it is phenomenal. There is no other way to describe it. It is a beautiful, very soft baby doll pink with some white in there. A huge prolific bloomer that has a very similar habit. So Whiteout and Pink Cashmere have very similar habit to it as far as the growth and the vigor and the size of the flowers. But we had done that on this side of the garden for the past couple of years, and it is unbelievable. It is a beautiful showstopper. So if you enjoy a pink, low trailing plant, check out Superbena Pink Cashmere. Only reason I'm not doing it this year is because I've used it so much in the past. I'm like, okay, we got to switch some things up, because I want, when folks come to the gardens, to be like, well, that's what she had in here last year. I got to keep it interesting around here, y'all. So those are the Superbenas that we're going to be using. Another Supertunia Mini Vista that I love and adore is Indigo. Now, Indigo is going to give you like an ombre effect of these purple colors, right? So Indigo, it's not, again, not a blue, true blue, it's more in that purple family. So the Mini Vista Indigo, we're actually going to do those at the entrance over there. As you cross over the creek, you're going to see those along with some grasses and some of the coleus. So Mini Vista Indigo is beautiful because, again, as those flowers age, they will begin to change colors. So you get a beautiful display on those. Then at the house, what we're going to do is we have got we're going to use Mini Vistas and Supertunias. I'm going to use the Supertunia Mini Vista Hot Pink behind the garden, so the raised beds, right? So think of the base of Hydrangea Hill, going to give a massive color explosion right there along the wall. It's that same idea of using the Mini Vistas, because it'll be, my space is very tight and confined, but I still want that pop of color. So that's why I'm using Mini Vista Hot Pink as opposed to one of the Vistas, simply because of my space issues. I think the cold is getting to me and I can't really talk very well. Now we are going to use at the backyard of the house around the patio. We are using the brand new Supertunia Vista this year, Cool Jazz. So if you're familiar with jazzberry, right, is that bright, beautiful, bold raspberry pink. Cool Jazz, as its name suggests, is going to be a much softer, lighter color palette than jazzberry. So that is what we're going to use around the raised beds of the patio. So in front of my sprinters and my roses and the white shishi camellias, we're going to be using Cool Jazz. Then we're going to be using Supertunia Bordeaux in the backyard. So Bordeaux is also one of those Supertunias like Bubblegum too. Bordeaux has been in the family for a very long time, but it was starting to have a little bit of issues, some growth issues, the flower color and all of that. So what Proven Winners did is they went back to the drawing board and fixed all of those issues. So it has a beautiful color, much brighter. So when we were at Cultivate in July, the Proven Winners booth, they had the new Bordeaux side comparison to the traditional Bordeaux. So we'll throw that up there for you so you can actually see what the difference is between the new improved and the old traditional. But it's just like the Bubblegum 2 is that when you get Bordeaux, it will be the new version. So you don't have to worry about, is this the new one? Is this the old one? That will all be, that's the only one that they are producing this year. So it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous spring. I cannot wait. Again, I love a good snow. I am a southerner at heart. It is so rare for us to have a snow, but after about 2 days, we're done. And so again, all my northern people who traditionally have snow, yeah, you need to corral this mess up and take it back to your place because we're done. It is starting to what do you call it? Outstay its welcome. There you go. So I do think that the folks who have that are in those colder zones, those cooler zones, and maybe your growing time is shorter, you have great success with your supers, right? Because you don't have those really long seasons of the heat and the humidity like we do in the South. And again, all of the supers perform really well in those kind of cooler climates. Don't be afraid to trim them, my friends. Pruning is a good thing, especially with your supers. They all respond really well to being pruned. So if you notice that you're getting to have a lot of the flowers on the end and not in the center of the plant, that is key number one that says, hey, I need a haircut. Now, if you're in a cooler zone and your growing period season is much shorter than ours, you may never have to prune it. But where we have a very long growing season, ours respond really, really well and in fact need to be trimmed so that way they maintain all of those blooms all over the entire plant. I have got tons of videos on how to prune them. I will try to link that for you if I remember. If I don't, tell me in the comments and I will do it. But yeah, it's going to be fun, y'all. It's going to come. I promise. It will be here. Now, we're going to do really quickly is because talking about it being here, the garden center opens on February the 21st. And I think, yeah, that will be 2 weeks from today when this video goes out. And so our team was in here starting to put back the greenhouse. So we're going to walk over here really quickly and I'm going to show you what it looks like. And we have, we got some supers in here. So I'm going to show you what the baby supers look like so that you can see the difference when they become big supers. All right, fun little note. I just did a whole tour of the greenhouse and I realized the camera wasn't on. So we're going to do it again, my friends. All right, so our folks were in here, got all of the benches set up. It is nice and clean and shiny. When we open in 2 weeks, these benches are going to be filled with gorgeous shrubs and perennials. We've got quite a few deliveries headed our way. So I know, because you're going to be asking, we'll do a nursery tour, so we'll show you. But we have got a ton of Lenten roses coming. We have got peonies coming. We have got all sorts of fun shrubs. There's too many for me to name what the shrubs are, but just know when you come on the 21st, we are going to have plants for you that you can purchase and you can buy, and you can go home and you can put them in your garden, because we are going to, we know that the weather is going to have changed by then. It is going to be warm, and we can add these to our landscape. It is not going to be covered in snow. Now, we also have, look at all these little sweet babies. Yes. So down here on the end, we have got the Bordeaux and the Mini Vista Plum Vein. So let me show you those, because we were talking about the color difference, but how they're similar. Let me explain. All right, so I stuck both tags here together. So obviously on the left, you have Mini Vista Plum Vein, and on the right, you have got Bordeaux. So this is the new improved Bordeaux. It has a bit of a brighter color to it. It's not quite as dark. But you can see how with both of these, you can see the veining in the flowers. Now, obviously, Bordeaux is more purple, Plum Vein is more pink. But they do remind me of each other as far as their how the flower and the colors are presenting themselves. So there you go on that. Let me put Bordeaux back over here, and then you can see how they are growing. Now, we literally just put them in the greenhouse this week, and the heat is going. It feels fantastic over there. But all of this whole section is, on this side of the wall, is going to be your supers, mostly your Supertunias and some Superbells in there. So when you come on the 21st, the annuals, of course, are going to be in here. It's probably, for the vast majority of people, it is not time to be buying these. However, we always have people that insist, well, I have a greenhouse, or I have a special area that I can put these in until the weather changes. We're not going to stop you, so if you want to buy them, you absolutely can, but it's going to be not quite time, especially here locally, to go ahead and put them in the ground. That's just a little bit too early. They probably need just a little bit more time to grow and develop. But you can head over to the website, you can put in the Supertunia, you can put in Superbells, Superbenas, and all of those will come up. Remember, put 8 in your cart, use the code, and it will deduct those 2 as far as the cost. So if you want to get more, just think of increments of 8, so you get the most bang for your buck. Any Supertunia, Superbell, Superbena, you can mix and match. It is okay. So if you put a coleus in there, that does not count for your 8. Your 8 must be the supers, because it is Super Bowl weekend. As always, we so appreciate you. Spring will be here before we know it. Praise the Lord, with blue skies and warmer days. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.